No one asked for all the challenges and uniqueness that are ahead of us in summer 2021. Today, we challenge you to look at the positive side and focus on some of the unique opportunities that lie ahead this summer. Whether it's reestablishing expectations with staff or simply taking an opportunity to get rid of that one program area you've always wanted to say goodbye to, this is your year.
Wouldn't it be refreshing if your registration software gave you more time? With UltraCamp, you can track attendance, manage staff applications, streamline registration, and much more. Get back the time you need to focus on what is really important. Camp. Find out more at summercampsoftware.com/camp code.
Welcome to Camp Code, a podcast brought to you by Go Camp Pro. We have created and are dedicated to this podcast because we believe that staff training is one of, if not the most important part of your job as a camp director. Staff training is what prepares your staff to care for their campers, to feel confident in their skills, to do their jobs to the best of their ability, and to learn along the way. A well thought out and intentional staff training will help you in more ways than you can imagine, and we need to help each other bring our very best. Happy Friday, everyone. We're recording on one of the last Fridays of April, not the last one, and very grateful to be joined by my co-hosts. Let's do a round of introductions. Beth, will you start us off?
Absolutely. I am Beth Allison. I am a co-owner of Camp Hacker and Go Camp Pro and was a director for many, many years and am now a camp consultant with a focus on intentional leadership training.
And Gabrielle.
My name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Waro. Camp Waro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, Canada, and we focus on creating a positive female community.
Fantastic. And I'm Ruby Compton. I'm the Chief Exploration Officer for Ruby Outdoors. I do a ton of support and fill-in work for various camps across the world, but especially here in Western North Carolina, in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains, where spring is officially springing. We're getting the nice lime green color of the new leaves. I love it. I love it so much. And I had a hummingbird in my azaleas yesterday. So that's the nature update. You're welcome.
Lovely, lovely.
Today's topic is embracing the uniqueness of this particular summer. And sure, every summer is unique, but 2021 promises to have its own set of challenges. And I feel like we've spent a fair amount of time actually talking about those, but would love to put a positive spin and look at some of the opportunities that lie ahead of us this summer. So we'll take a little time to chat about this, and we're going to start off with Beth.
Great. If we're going to embrace the uniqueness of any summer, but especially one where we're gearing up for that, is the one that we're gearing up for is likely to be more stressful than any other. At the very least, it'll have new stresses that will have people recovering themselves from a very traumatic and difficult year, and that will appear different than others due to protocols or PPE or cohorts or different drop-offs and pickups and certain age-old camp activities we may be unable to do. We're going to need to get everybody on the same page. We need to start now to ensure that every single staff member understands the purpose of this summer. And by the way, this should be done every year for your most effective summer, but especially this year. What are you trying to get out of camp this summer? What do your kids need? What are you hoping your staff will accomplish together? What's your purpose? So for example, if your priority is ensuring that kids have a safe place to be kids again after all they've been through this past year, then your staff need to know that, and they need to know why. If your goal is to spend less time in structured sessions with more time to process and breathe, then your staff needs to know that. If you want to show the outside world that the camp industry is so much more than just a place for kids to make macaroni necklaces and sing Kumbaya, then what lessons do you want to share with the rest of the world? Decide now what your purpose is for this summer. One director I was talking to this past month said that they've decided their purpose this year is back to basics, back to fun, back to camp. So take some time to think about it now. Maybe involve some other leadership team members or other return staff and figure out what your message is. What do we want our people to understand about this summer? What can we do to ensure that this happens? And for this, I would involve as many staff in the answering of that question as possible. And what do we need to cut out or avoid from our usual camp experience to ensure that this is our focus for this year? So figure out your purpose for this unique, unprecedented summer and get that message out there. And by the way, I did see a t-shirt that I'm going to buy that said, I'm just looking for a precedented year. So I think I'm going to buy that.
Sell that one in your camp store this year. At least make the sticker.
Exactly.
Hashtag precedented. There it is. Fantastic. Thanks for starting us off, Beth. How about you, Gabrielle? What's an opportunity you see for this particular summer?
For me, I was talking to our staff, and we were talking to my leadership team, and we were talking about some of our younger staff members who have in their mind, all of the obstacles that they're going to be hitting this summer, including being a first-time staff member, and how do we flip their mindset from obstacle to opportunity? And one of the things that we had come up with was that 100 years ago, our founding members, Mabel Jameson and Ferna Halliday, this is what camp was like for them when they first started camp. They walked onto camp and they said, how do we want it to, what do we want our schedule to be like? How do we want to welcome our campers? How do we want to say goodbye to our campers? What's all the stuff in between? They got to dream all of that up. And because of them, we are where we are today with, of course, all countless other people that participated. And so we had that conversation on we have that opportunity to re-dream up this summer, to look at it like Mabel Jameson and Ferna Halliday did 100 years ago before they came onto the site. And because of it, and because of that part, there was some strong intentionalities that happened back then that we still do today, just with our opening and closing ceremonies. It's a really beautiful part of camp, and it connects from one season to another. And there's traditions that we still do that have such a value within our community. So that's what we've done with our younger staff is help them, dream up what's the type of camp that our campers and that what we need right now, and not try to recreate camp from the past. And just that exercise and that conversation, I think, has gotten them very excited. And I think it also connects to what Beth is talking about, and helping them connect to our purpose and our why for the summer, and see all the possibilities and not just the obstacles.
So great. I love all that. And I was telling Beth and Gabs right before we popped on, I was teaching a lifeguard class yesterday and was at a YMCA and at an indoor, gym and aquatic facility. And it was like getting a little bit of a snapshot of this is what things may look like going forward. And I feel like programs that have been able to adapt and make changes and accept those changes and try to problem solve, those are the ones that are going to see the most success, and ones that are like, we're going to stick with the way things have always been. There's getting back to your roots. And then there's also like being so stubborn that you put yourself into being obsolete. So I think these are both great points. Mine goes right alongside that, which is that this is the year to make some program and policy updates that maybe you've always wanted to make, but we're a little nervous to do so. And I feel like I definitely did this when an ACA accreditation year came around. It was like, oh, we got to do this because ACA says so, and I'm a standards instructor. So like, I'm a big believer in the validity of the program and not lying about it. Right. But sometimes there were things that you needed to reassert or say like, no, we're really going to do this, or we really can't do this with following accreditation protocols. So maybe this is not a program we keep doing. I think one thing I think of is how I've heard countless times at camps, at conferences, camps talking about how they, used to take some photos and then like got a media coordinator or started posting something like hundreds or thousands of photos online every day. And they've gotten to the point now where they're like, if I could go back and not post photos every day and have a parent call me constantly being like, you didn't take enough photos of my kid, or my kid's not smiling, what's going on? What's wrong with them? We've heard it, right? And it's always felt like once you open Pandora's box, you can't go back and be like, just kidding, we're not going to post photos. This year you can. I really do think you can. And I think you can say, we have to focus on keeping kids safe and following these new protocols and guidelines that we have to do to be able to operate. And anytime you're saying yes to something, you have to say no to something else. And this year, we're going to pull back on photos so that we can make sure our in-person camp operations are on point. We also want to, kids need to not live online. They've been online for the last year. What if something that they are doing isn't just tracked constantly? Maybe we need to practice some separation between parents and campers because you've been very close with one another for the last year. So can we pull back on that? And my guess is yes. I wouldn't put this in a parent email, but another way that I've heard that sentiment put is anytime you say yes to something, you're choosing something else that you're going to suck at. And it's such a blunt way to put it, but I try to remember that when I have something coming in, I'm like, well, what am I willing to give up or not be good at so that I can take this on? And if you look around and go, man, I don't want to give up any of that stuff, well, then maybe you shouldn't take that new thing on. Well, this year we're being forced to take on some new things. And so I really encourage you to look around, and nothing is absolute. There's nothing absolute this year. We are rewriting the book on camp. And so challenge some of those assumptions that you have of, well, we've always done it this way, or we have to do it this way. This may be the year that you can actually change it. And navigating change is tricky, and we've done podcasts about that. But also, I think this year is a real opportunity for letting go of some stuff that maybe you want to get rid of.
That's brilliant. Totally brilliant.
Awesome. All right, my friends, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back after this ad. Hey friends, do you remember your why for getting into camping in the first place? I'm guessing it didn't involve sitting in front of a computer screen, clicking in a database. Sometimes all the busy work and button clicking associated with running camp keeps us from seeing why we are there. That's why I encourage you to get to know my friends at Ultra Camp. Ultra Camp helps you get back to spending time remembering why you love working at camp. How do they do this? Ultra Camp takes the stress out of using their registration software. With Ultra Camp, you don't have to worry about limits. You have unlimited custom reports, unlimited support, unlimited training, and unlimited users. If you think all this sounds too good to be true, friends, it's real. Visit summercampsoftware.com/campcode. And right now, Ultra Camp is offering free setup for a limited time exclusively to Camp Code listeners. My friends at Ultra Camp would love to show you a future where you finally have the time to get back to what's really important, running camp. Visit their website, summercampsoftware.com/campcode, and set up a time to chat. All right, and we're back, continuing our discussion about embracing the uniqueness of this summer. Beth, do you have another idea to share with us?
Of course I do. I touched on messaging in my first point, and now I want to take that a little bit further. I want you all to think about all of your messaging to families, campers, donors, camps, neighbors, staff, literally everyone this spring and summer. Maybe you could sit down with your staff now online if you're doing some pre-training community building, or during training as camp begins, and brainstorm a list of hashtags you would like to use for the summer on all of your social media to ensure that your messaging is always positive, upbeat, and aligns with your message. I would have small group discussions around not only the cool and fun and exciting messaging you could come up with, but also phrases you might absolutely wish to avoid, like, we survived COVID, or we made it through COVID this summer. I know of several camps who used that kind of messaging last year, and I'd be really concerned about campers and staff who have had people who didn't survive COVID and how that might affect them. I would also think that you'd want a much more engaging message. Not we didn't just survive, but we thrived. So I'd avoid that whole sort of survival concept. Whatever your positive and uplifting messaging is, I would spread it everywhere, not just on social media, but on tuck shop items or camp store items, on camp clothing, on stickers, on Nalgene bottles, create posters to hang around camp, create slogans that you say together every day this summer. You can have campers help record videos or photo ops this summer, sharing that message to get it out on your website or your social media platforms. We want our staff and campers to be proud to be at camp in 2021 and to be able to share it with folks when they return back to the outside world, letting them know that camp offered them an incredible support and a place to grow and a way to remember the important parts of childhood and development in a very unprecedented time. So figure out your messaging and get it out there.
Hashtag precedented. Great, great. All right, Gabrielle, how about you?
I think that this summer is not only what's needed is, or that's going to be wanted is to slow down a bit, but I think it's also what's going to be needed. I just, in my own self, there's certain, it's almost like there's a sneaky new personality that's living with me that I'm surprised by. So certain things that I would be normally stressed about, I'm not. And then other things that don't usually bother me kind of throw me for a loop. And I feel like I'm not the only one that's going through that. Well, it would be nice if I was, but I think other people are too. And so I think staff members are going to be also going through, they're coming back to a place, if they're returning staff members, a place that they know, and they might be shocked by some of their reactions or how they're managing the summer and different situations. And I think we need time for staff members to be able to process and understand and get to understand who they are with this new added adjustment to stress. And with vaccines, that are happening right now, and all of us trying to move forward in any way that we can, I think that it's sometimes we forget that we're in a pandemic. I don't know if that happens to you, but like our new normal sometimes feels so normal that we forget that we're actually stressed. And for me, in staff training, I think we're going to want to prioritize time and pacing over information. And that's going to help tell your staff members that their self-care or maintenance is just as important as them learning information to run camp. And if we just say it and we don't put it within the framework of our staff training, then it's going to be very hard for them to actually practice it during camp. And I would even make it a point to do some relaxation pieces all together as a group, social distance, of course. I would make it a point for them to do it in smaller groups, do it by themselves, and sort of break it down and be very transparent about what the goal is, which is taking a break, adjusting, noticing things within yourself. Are you surprised by how well you're adjusting, or are you shocked? With those, different prompting type of questions. So practice downtime with your staff, because I believe that not only it's going to be welcomed, I think it's going to be also needed.
Brilliant. Prioritize time and pacing over information. Send tweet, click. That's so smart. So smart. I want to throw out there that we all know this fact that our parents, the parents of the world, especially parents of school-age children, are stressed. Probably more stressed than they've ever been in their life. And that is across the board socioeconomically. Like everybody is feeling the stress of parenthood to some degree. Again, some more than others. And I think camp has this real opportunity to highlight how we can be supportive of families going forward. And I know many camps in our area, in my area, decided to do no traditional camp they typically run and ran family retreats and family programs. And so many of them talked about how the parents came and were so grateful. And it was some new families and many return families, but this idea of just like getting to get your family away for a little bit, to be outside, to have activities, to have something to do, to spend some quality time together, to not have to do the dishes all the time. I don't know about you all, but man, I'm sick and tired of looking at my dishwasher. And so truthfully, like if I were to go back to work at a camp right now, a position that would be super interesting to me is a strictly parent services job. What if you look at, as your budgets do open up, as kids do come back to camp and you're rebuilding that year-round team, is it possible to have someone whose job is to be supportive of the parents at your and families at your camp? I wonder about, and I have to actually give a shout out to the Summer Camp Society, because I saw Sarah Kurtz McKinnon post something on her Instagram, or on the Summer Camp Society Instagram, about how there's an area that was saying, like, there's this text line, this crisis line for parents who need support right now. And then the question she asked was, can camps do this? And it's like, yes, of course we can. Like, we can partner with parents, we can be supporters to them. And I think one of the biggest changes in my career as a year-round director is really when I came to understand that I am partnering with parents and offering this camp experience. It's not, parents. Like, and we've all had those phone calls in those days when you're like, if I have to talk to another parent about whatever seemingly dumb issue they are bringing to the table, like, I'm going to go batty. Let me just go spend some time with kids. So I just want to encourage you to think about, what could, in this new world that we're living in going forward, what could support for parents look like? And some of it they're going to know to ask for, and some of it they're not. So talk to your camp families, ask them what they need, what are they struggling with, and are there ways that your camp program can offer support, be that things that they come on site and do, be that online learning or materials that you're sending out to the families, be that how you talk to kids and teach them to be a little kinder to the adults in their life. There are so many ways. I remember one of my favorite things that could happen is when parents would call me and say, "What did you do to my child?" And you have this moment of like, oh no, I don't know how this is going to end. They're like, they are so nice to their siblings, and they make their bed and I don't have to ask them to do it. And they offer to clear the dishes because that's something they did at camp too. And so what an opportunity we have to lean into some of these elements of just living in community that can offer support to families. And then don't let your campers get off the hook. Tell the parents you're doing this so that when they get home, the parents know that they can ask their child to help empty the dishwasher or take out the trash, because it's something they've been doing at camp too. So what support can we offer to parents? I really want you to think about that going into this year. All right. I think we've got one more round in us. So Beth, any other tips that you want to share?
Yes, I think my final one is, let's not get so wrapped up in PPE and protocols and cohorts and the stress of lower capacities that we miss all the great and meaningful stuff that happens every moment of every day at summer camp. So why not create a ritual of stopping and celebrating every single day? And I'd start with training and just stop at random times and say, what do we have to celebrate in this moment? What do we have to celebrate in this moment? And I would choose big stuff, little stuff, hard stuff. I would choose funny stuff. I would choose spiritual stuff. I would do it all throughout training. And then I would also encourage my staff to call it out whenever they feel it's appropriate. Anybody can just say, hey, let's stop for a second. What do we celebrate about this moment? And then I would continue it on through the summer. After all we have been through, we need to remember that there are dozens of moments every single day where we can celebrate life, camp, one another, and where we can be thankful and grateful. This summer is ripe for new traditions, as Ruby has already alluded to, and new traditions about celebrating all that life throws at us. So again, I would suggest that you put it out there to your staff, maybe your whole staff, or maybe just a few that you could put onto like a celebrations committee or something. And you know the people who would be great at this. And they can work on ways that you can find the joy in all those moments this summer. Are there new things you want to celebrate daily or weekly or monthly? And then, of course, be sure to celebrate these little moments at every staff meeting, asking folks to share their GMICs or great moments in camping. These will help serve as a reminder of why you're doing what you're doing this summer and that all of it is worth it, even with all of the face masks and hand sanitizer. What do you have to be grateful for in this moment?
Love, 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 love it. Gabrielle, what would
Thanks
you
so
add?
much, Beth. Yeah, thank you. And I agree with the celebrating and helping our staff members see it's about perspective, right? Like, and I think that when you're doing hard things, sometimes it's really hard to stop and pause. You know, you're doing great things. And so for my staff, one of the things that we're working on right now is a list of things that they're excited to do at camp this summer. Just straight up, what are you excited to get back to do at camp? Some of our staff members didn't get to pass certain levels because they were working on those levels when they were campers, and now they're actually going to be staff members. So some of them want to finish their canoeing level. Some of them never got to do, their overnight on one of our islands that they're looking forward to doing with other people. And so right now we're just creating a list of things that they, would like to do when they come to camp. Some of those things we won't be able to do because of new regulations. And that's when we're going to be creating a ceremony to let go of those things for the summer and to make space for the new opportunities for the summer. And other things, I want to create space for camp for those staff members to finish that unfinished business because they missed that year. And that was our case. Last year we weren't able to run. So if for people that received their 10-year paddle, though they got them, we want to make sure that we're going to have that ceremony so they do have those things. So asking your staff members, what do they just miss? What would they like to do? And I find that that's the kind of thing that's also going to help you with that team building, that's going to help build community. And you don't have to work that hard to try to think up of things that's going to just bring them together. It's already in your program. It's already in them. They're already excited about certain things. Just asking them will allow for you to have some great ideas. And for those things that you can't, make a ceremony out of it, and we can all shed a tear and then create space for new opportunities this summer.
Love it. Awesome. My last tip here is that this is the summer of embracing awkward. This is the summer of the awkward child, because everybody's coming to camp a little bit awkward. Our social skills are a little rusty. We've been interacting probably with kind of the same group of people, and the social norms of that group may be really different from the social norms of camp or the people they're going to be with this summer. I think what's great about that is it offers the opportunity to really break down and talk about how to do some of the most basic stuff that sometimes we've assumed folks come to camp and know how to do. I know we talked about on the podcast early on this season about like going to the store and forgetting your debit card like PIN number because it's been so long, or like forgetting how to sign. I actually just recently had to make a phone call to my bank because I was like, I have no idea what my debit card number is, right? There are some things that are just gone because they're skills that we haven't practiced. And so things like teaching folks how to have conversations where in the past that may have felt a little silly, it's not. And we can blame it on COVID. We can say, look, we've all been at home and we haven't been doing as much in-person conversation. Yeah, it may feel super awkward to pause for an extended period of time after somebody said something to you. But hey, everything's awkward right now. Let's try something new and see how that goes. I think about how when I first learned how to belay, it was a trainer from Alpine Tower. And when he taught us how to belay, he had us all learn with our non-dominant hand. And we were all like, this is super awkward. Like, I feel weird. He's like, great, this is an awkward process anyway. Might as well learn how to do it with your non-dominant hand. That way, when you're tired, you can switch between the two. So let's take the opportunity to try some new things this year, but also maybe we have a chance to address some things that we haven't always felt so okay addressing because it's felt a little awkward. It's the year of the awkward. Let's just lean into it. Awesome. Any other last tips anybody wants to share before we move into our recap? All right.
Oh, I think I'm good.
Gabrielle, take it away, please.
Alrighty, so embrace the uniqueness of this summer. So this summer is going to provide us with many opportunities for uniqueness. And while before you embrace all of what we're going to be expecting this summer, let's set our purpose, because it is our compass. And we want all staff members to understand what direction we're going in and why we're doing what we are doing. Remember, staff members are thinking of the worst possibilities in their head, and we need to flip that mentality. And while we're at it, we can help our families also understand what our purpose is by creating hashtags. Also, we're making sure that those hashtags are positive and not, putting down maybe some other groups, but we're letting our families know, we're letting our staff members know, we're letting our campers know. We can even stick that messaging on some swag. And while we're sticking that messaging on swag, we can also celebrate all of the little moments during staff training, the big moments, the funny moments, so that's going to trickle into camp when things really, really get tough. Because when you're in camp, things are going to get tough. And so to help manage that, we want staff members to understand that self-care is a priority. During staff training, make sure that you're providing time and space and tools for staff members to take downtime to reflect on how they're doing and how they need to adjust moving forward, and compare that to some scenarios during the summer. And so for that summer, the reality is when you're saying yes to stuff, you're also saying that you're going to suck at other stuff. So what are some of the things you want to take off of your plate this summer so that you can really put all of your time and energy? I love the example of the pictures. I've heard other camps saying this is a nightmare. Hey, maybe camps around the world, let's get rid of that group, so many pictures, and let's really focus back on community. And when we're talking about community, let's not forget about our parents. Our parents are also in desperate need of help. And when they're in need of help, that provides a bridge for us to communicate, to support each other, and to provide a stronger bond with our parents and our families. So let's reach out to them and make sure that they're okay. And while we're okay, sometimes we also forget how to people. So embrace that awkwardness or awkwardness, however you want to call it, at your camp, because we're all going through a difficult time. That's the most important thing to remember. And when you're going through a difficult time, when somebody knocks on your door and says, hey, I'm here, what do you need? Just remember how much that feels good, and the stress dissipates from our bodies. This year is one of our years where we can look back and look at our founding members that started our organization and walk into this summer with our head high, saying we can continue this job, and we're not here to create the summer of the past. We're here to create the summer that we all need this year in the present.
Beautiful, beautiful. So lovely. Thanks so much, Gabs. And friends, we would love for you to get involved with our podcast. So tell us your thoughts on this episode. What are you embracing this summer by using the hashtag Camp Code? You can also tell us what topics you'd like for us to discuss, any guests that you recommend we have on the show, any great leadership training tips that you have to share. We'd love to hear from you, because we're all about sharing in this industry. Also, if you found this podcast to be useful, we ask that you please leave us a rating and review in your podcasting app of choice. Your feedback helps keep the show going and helps it get discovered by other camp pros. We love our reviewers so much that sometimes we share highlights here. And Beth got a message from a listener, and she's going to share that with you now.
Yes, I received an email this week from Matthew Labkovsky, and he says, I am a big fan of the Camp Code podcast. I heard your last podcast on staff training videos, and I just wanted to share with you my favorite video as well. And it's called Look Up by Gary Turk. And we'll put the link in our show notes. And Matthew says it's a super interesting video about the idea of being outside and technology free. And it shows staff why it's so great for campers and themselves to do this. Thanks so much. So thank you, Matthew, for reaching out and for sharing your information. This is what we're all about, is sharing with each other.
I love that. And that sparked for me, there's a great improv everywhere, and this is from like 10 or 15 years ago, called Look Up More. And I'm going to include that in the show notes as well. But it's same theme, very different structure. But yeah, awesome. Love it. Well, and if you'd like to be in touch with any of us about anything we've shared today, or just to, glean some awesomeness from any of us, we'd love for you to know how to get in touch. Beth, how can folks reach you?
Beth at gocamp.pro. I am on Twitter as at Topaz and on Instagram at Topaz_Faye.
Awesome. Gabrielle?
And you can follow me on Instagram at Gabrielle Rail, or you can contact me at info@waro.com.
Thank you. And you can email me, ruby@rubyoutdoors.com. Follow me on Instagram at rubyoutdoors, or find me on Twitter at rubylyn85. And Beth is going to share with us about our next podcast.
It'll be our second last one of the entire season. Can't believe it. We are going to share 9 top tips for directors to make it through this summer.
Beautiful, beautiful. Looking forward to chatting on that one. Our final segment on each podcast is a best practice for leadership training. And we would love to hear some of your most memorable moments or most effective tips. And again, you can tell us what they are using #CampCode. This week's best practice comes from Beth.
At the end of this summer, I would be planning for something really meaningful and special for my staff, an exceptional way to say thank you for being a part of this unique summer. And I'm thinking about a huge evening celebration on the last day just for staff. I would start planning now. Sounds crazy, but I would start planning now to involve as many folks as you possibly can in helping to say thank you. Figuring out a plan now will help you make the most of the time you have with campers and families this summer to aid you in that effort. Maybe this is a job you can pass off to a board member, an alumnus, or a volunteer who could coordinate this for you. Ideas that spring to mind for me are things like having an enormous special card that parents and campers are asked secretly to sign for staff every closing day, expressing their gratitude. Videoing campers throughout the summer, unbeknownst to their counselors, of course, to share their gratitude for all the staff have worked so hard to give them. Reaching out to parents or alumni to do the exact same thing, then compiling them into an amazing video complete with music and interspersed with great summer photos to show your staff after some outrageously delicious meal on their last night at camp. Maybe you could have campers write letters to staff or have parents pen their thoughts about how much they appreciate their child's opportunity to be back at camp, and then save those letters for the last night. Now, what I would do is compile a book to give out to everyone of those letters. And this could be done in-house to keep costs really low. You could read some of the best ones out loud as part of a closing ceremony where staff are thanked and gifted with some special item that, of course, has your chosen messaging on it. We need to make this a very big deal this year. Even if you always go big at the end of every summer to say thank you to your staff, and you really should. This year, I think we just have to dig a little bit deeper to do things unexpected. Maybe fireworks or a camper parade where the kids come in their cars and drive by your staff with posters and balloons and banners if your site is in the community where you draw your kids from. We need to start planning now for the end of summer celebration so that we can truly make our staff feel like they've been a part of something special, important, and life-changing. So get a team on it. Trust me, you already know the right people, and they will have a great time this summer planning for a big, well-deserved and heartfelt thanks to show that appreciation to staff who are going to go above and beyond this summer to give kids back what they need.
Incredible. Thank you for sharing that idea and bringing that back to the forefront. That it made me think, and I'll put a link in the show notes for this. We had kind of a storybook theme for our staff one year. And so we all throughout the summer filmed little clips from various people who came in and out of camp doing sections of the places you'll go. And we did it kind of secretly and then played it. So I'll add that video to our show notes.
Lovely.
Awesome. All right, my friends. Well, Camp Code is part of the Go Camp Pro podcast network. You can check out all our other podcasts at gocamp.pro/podcasts. Stay tuned for our next episode. And from all of us here at Camp Code, thanks for the listening, friends.